My name is Auste, and today I'll be talking about human-AI collaboration. So you probably spend all day thinking about the technology, and I'll try to make you think about the human that's interacting with the technology, and I'll share some of the best practices from beyond finance. So I've been working with Rosalind Franklin Institute, I've been working with the BBC, Microsoft, and the UK government, trying to understand how experts from various domains are interacting with AI systems. And usually my job is to understand why they fail. So why do they have these incredible AI systems, but they either do not adopt them effectively, do not adopt them responsibly, over-rely on AI decisions and do not rely on their own expertise, or actually are not more productive, but lose time trying to figure out how to work these systems. And one of the key tensions and key reasons why the systems fail and they introduce in real-world practice, even though they're perfectly fine in laboratory settings, they perform well in tests, is that they don't really fit the context in which they're supposed to be used by the experts. So often they are not really working well with the workflows of the experts. And looking at the healthcare sector, so looking at the medical experts and why they do not integrate AI suggestions into their decision-making is these very simple reasons you can see here. So for example, medical experts report that they often get suggestions when they feel irrelevant. So they're making a decision and they get AI suggestion. It does not add anything to their decision-making because of the bad timing. For example, they already made a diagnostic decision. Another aspect is they poorly fit the collaboration network, nature of work. So the systems are designed to support an individual, for example, radiologist, using a system, making decision, but it doesn't take into account the factor that doctors, medical experts often work in collaboration, so they involve junior doctors and try to kind of pass the knowledge on to them, or they invite more senior doctors to consult and question suggestions. If the system is not designed for that, it's likely to not be used effectively. Another aspects are they're poorly integrated with existing technological solutions. So medical experts report that they often have to switch between different software, have to switch between different devices. And in those cases, anything that adds extra workload on already very busy workload, it's usually rejected or causes more mistakes than actually adds as benefits. Another aspect, it's also already well known, so experts working with AI systems need to know why AI performs the way it performs, why it makes certain suggestions, so they need to be able to judge whether they can trust it, why does it align with their judgment or misalign with their judgment. If they can't do that, they're most likely to reject the system. However, and I spent 4 years of my PhD exploring this, explainability does not work in expert context. Often, experts simply ignore explanations. They just skim through them. They don't really engage with the explainability that is presented to them, or they take it as a sign that the system is trustworthy and over-rely on the system as a result. And some of the key aspects why that happens is explainability is often designed without considering the domain-specific vocabulary, and it doesn't consider what kind of information the expert needs. So if it only explains the underlying logic behind the AI system, how AI system works, medic who needs to compare two different diagnoses, or a journalist who needs to compare two different images that he or she is using for the news article, they're just not going to find that explanation relevant, especially in really high time pressure environments. They just don't have time to engage with some extra layer of complexity. They also often misalign with their expert knowledge. So what happens is explainability often designed with the assumption that someone who is engaging with the AI system has a data science knowledge, and they're able to interpret very complex visualizations. And when I was working with experts at the BBC, they don't have that knowledge, and they get really frustrated when they are expected to have the knowledge. And when they're presented with a very complex visualization, they simply say, they just expect me to be a data scientist, and they just don't use that explanation. And as a result, they can't really integrate the AI suggestion into their workflow and to their decision-making. Third aspect where AI and human collaboration often goes not as expected is people interacting with AI, knowledge workers interacting with AI, are not more productive in some cases. We recently did a study where we looked at the programmers. So we looked at the programmers using Copilot, and we looked why in some cases they get stuck into these debugging rabbit holes. They spend a lot of time trying to understand why the error happened, and they not focusing on the key task of programming, and they're losing time, and often they just reject the AI suggestion and just go and do it manually or all and the way they used to do it. Another aspect why they lose productivity in these tasks, but they interact with AI, is that AI doesn't really recognize when they are in the most productive workflow. So if they get into the flow, they really focus, and all of a sudden AI gives a suggestion and breaks that flow, and then they take a lot of time going back to it, and then they lose productivity. Unfortunately, I don't have much time to go into this really interesting study, but the key point is they could be much more effective and productive working with AI if they're given a little bit more agency. So if they have an agency to personalize the system just a little bit, just to be able to choose at what times they can get these suggestions when they actually enjoy doing work without any interruptions, and when they actually get some benefit from AI providing a suggestion. Or, for example, being able to allocate tasks. So they get to experience AI system, and they recognize which tasks they really are more efficient when they collaborate with AI, and which tasks they spend more time dealing with AI errors and actually lose productivity. So this kind of personalization really helps. They also need to be able to get continuous feedback, so they need to know why the system performing in a way is performing at all times, because now the task is changing from one of producing to one of monitoring. So to be able to effectively monitor the AI system, they need to get this feedback all the time. And the last one is, why do experts not adopt AI systems if they are readily available? So I was invited to do research at the Rosalind Franklin Institute that work on groundbreaking research of Alzheimer, pharmaceuticals, and they have these in-house AI softwares readily available for experts. These top scientists doing these top research working on these top research projects, not using those systems. So the data, very valuable data, is piling up. They're not using AI to process it, and they invited me to understand why that was happening. They expected it to be something very complex. They expected it to be explainability issues, trust issues, something about the software, about the system itself. But that was very simple. I had a conversation with the experts, and they said, we just don't know how to install the software. We don't know how to use it. At the very beginning, we get frustrated. And they understood that these are such basic things, but they just didn't know how to do that. And they were too prideful, too embarrassed to go to software engineers to ask these questions. And they were struggling. And what was happening, they either started doing things manually, that was taking ages, or they used non-in-house software, was not really designed for the purpose, but was more available. They could go on YouTube and watch videos that actually show them how to use that software. When I talked to software engineers, they thought that is so basic that does need to be covered in the training. They didn't even show the scientists how to install it, how to start using it, how to use it for their particular projects, because they assumed that top scientists will be able to do that. So the lesson here, don't make assumptions, collaborate, bring people together. So success stories in Rosalind Franklin Institutes were those where the software engineers were forced to collaborate with scientists. So the project required them to work together. And they came together. At the beginning, they completely failed. They didn't understand each other. The software engineers were saying that experts are wanting AI to do magic. And the experts were saying that software engineers are expecting them to be computer engineers, computer scientists. And they were didn't have the vocabulary, didn't have the language to be able to effectively communicate. But after 3 weeks of this forceful communication, they established the language. They managed to improve the software. experts were more effective in adopting it and working the software responsibly and effectively. What was very important as well is that experts, if they were not adopting the software, that was happening at the very beginning. So if the initial support was available for these experts, this troubleshooting issues, the support, installing support, starting using it, making it applicable to their particular projects, they would have adopted these systems happily and used them. They also need appropriate training, and the training now is a big topic in US, EU, UK legislation. Decision makers using AI need to get appropriate training. And the lesson here, appropriate training, the Rosalind Franklin Institute had training available, but it was not really developed working with experts, taking their feedback, their needs, their knowledge level, the skill level into account. So training also needs to be designed in collaboration. So very high level information, but nevertheless, these are the key aspects why the AI systems are not effectively adopted in real life situations, and these are the lessons from healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and journalism. Thank you.